to see that. I just enjoy every second of it.
The greatest show in college football returns with almost 110,000 people at Beaver Stadium for the Whiteout.
One hell of an unprecedented sports story that could translate not just Penn State, but universal themes, across every fan base.
Saving the Roar, a film that tells the story of the 2012 Penn State Nittany Lions. Two of the captains from that resilient group tell us why they took part in the documentary and why it's so important for people to hear the truth. And they're undefeated at the quarter pole with Villanova coming to Happy Valley. What matchups the Nittany Lions will try to exploit to sprint past the Wildcats? It's time for Nittany Game Week. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I am Andrew Calissa alongside Jay Paterno, Tom Bradley. Thanks for joining us. First time in program history that the Nittany Lions have had 2 wins over ranked opponents in the first 3 weeks of the season. A big part of the reason they jumped to number 6 in the country in the Associated Press poll. What did you think of the Whiteout, and more importantly, the way they beat back a tough SEC opponent?
I think they did a nice job. The crowd was into it. Auburn, to their credit, did not seem to have a lot of problems operating with that. They got one penalty, but I thought it was a tough football game. They made the plays and they had to. And again, in a big game, the Penn State defense stands up to 2 drives, both Wisconsin and Auburn late in the game, with a chance to tie or win the game.
Almost like we've seen that before.
The one thing they're playing is, and it always holds true, is they're playing great red zone defense right now. And as long as you can do that, let them go between the 20s. It's not going to bother you. And just remember this, and people forget this on defense, it takes 3 field goals to beat a touchdown. And I know that very well because I heard that a lot from somebody else.
Game in a second. First, some recognition and respect for everyone involved with Penn State's Whiteout, now known across the nation as the toughest atmosphere for a college football opponent. You guys know that all too well from when it started in 2004. The announced crowd of 110,000. Who knew it would grow to this level, Jay?
Nobody, but give Guido D'Elia a lot of credit, because in the days before Twitter and Instagram and all those social medias, they had student interns in dining halls downtown. They drove a truck around town. They had signs the week before that Notre Dame game in 07 when we went to the full Whiteout, everything. So, give credit where credit's due.
This guy's defensive coach. You got to love the noise on your side, right?
It's fantastic. But, you'd always used to love when they'd be backed up into that student section. Oh, this is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Jay, to your point, I love it that, yes, it wasn't Instagram, Twitter. People did communicate before those things did exist. Now we could talk about the game, especially down the stretch. Tom, as the red zone defense remains red hot with some critical stops to preserve the victory.
It's interesting. I think as they continued to play just phenomenal red zone defense and just holding the field goals, getting turnovers down there, they've been very successful with that. And when you're playing great red zone defense, everything else kind of starts to fall into place for you.
Absolutely. Coach Jaquan Brisker, safety in bump and run on a man in the slot. You don't see that a lot. Brisker says for their red zone D, they have a simple philosophy.
You got to make it hard for any offense in the red zone. And, we got to continue to get better. There's some things that we still have to clean up. We still haven't reached our potential at all. But, that's just our mindset when it comes to the red zone. Don't let the offense score.
The defense more than does their job again, and the offense is very good against Auburn, especially the way they take advantage of their tight ends, guys.
Yeah, Tom, you talked about this little gizmo that Penn State threw in where they got the tight end lined up as tackle. Talk about how hard that is for the defense to adjust to.
It's known as the Tover formation, and every defensive coordinator is like, oh, not the Tover. But you got to cover it every week. And what they did was Auburn lined up a tackle over, which means on the backside you had a center, the guard, and the tight end was eligible. And it's a really tough, if you're playing some man, it's tough. But even on zones, if you start flooding and pushing the other way, as you saw in this game, that guy's running clean right down the hole here. And it's a pretty good shot of.
Here's the play right here.
Yep, there it is.
Straight down. That brought the crowd to life right there. They also hit that at a very key point in the game. And Coach Paterno, when you're talking about trying to come up with something in the fourth quarter that the defense hasn't seen, this is one of them that you pull out.
No question. And the question is, do you want to run it early in the game to make them adjust to it the rest of the day, or is it something that you hold in your back pocket? Same thing with the double pass here from Dotson.
Big favorite over their next opponent, Villanova, as they should be. Seems like the time to dial it back a bit. You guys say nope, it's just the opposite. Coach them hard this week.
No question about it. This is one of those weeks where everybody's going to be telling them at the dining hall, walking downtown, how great they are, how wonderful they are. Oh, don't worry about this one, especially now with an Indiana game being a night game next week. So there are things, there were times where Auburn's receivers got behind Penn State's secondary and Nick's couldn't hit them. There were a couple other things offensively. They got to run the ball better. I mean, if they're going to win the games, they have to win down the stretch. They're going to play teams that are better than Auburn.
This is a week you go back to fundamentals. Fundamentals. You go back to just the simple rules. You're blocking, you're tackling. And on defense, it's doing everything right. Your angles, your pursuit lanes, making sure that you're getting your stuff exactly the way you want it.